Hello everyone, and welcome to House of Light's live stream with Adrian Wynter.
Hi.
And I'm Sally, and I'm just helping out today with some tech and being your guinea pig.
Can be.
No,
Excellent.
it's a really wonderful opportunity to learn more about working with the inner child. So I'm just going to give Facebook a chance to catch up, and because there is a little bit of a delay, give people a chance to catch the live stream, and I'm going to share it out as well amongst our network and our audience. So welcome Adrian, thank you for coming on, and maybe you'd like to give just a little insight into Learning Love while people start to come onto the live stream.
Sure. So the Learning Love model is, well, it's many things. For me, it's a practice, a way of moving through my life, a way of deepening into understanding myself. And the main advantage, I would say, for me is it's changed my relationship to myself and very profoundly my relationships with other people in a good way. So the Learning Love model has many areas that we can look at and work with, and today we're going to look at the inner child work, which is a part of it.
And do you find that a lot of people have issues from their childhood, or is that where the inner work starts?
I've not found any that don't. There's plenty of people that not recognise that, or
Yes.
feel that they have no issues from the past, but the way we relate today is largely driven by how we experienced our childhoods.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily what happened, but how we experienced it.
Yeah.
And that does have an enormous impact on the way we connect with the world, the way we work, the jobs we do, the dreams we do or don't make happen,
Yes.
and in our intimate relating.
So tell us, what is the purpose of doing inner child work?
Well, if we are not aware of how this works for us, then we quite often meet the world from a child state.
Yes.
These child states come and go, and I'll explain more about that shortly. But when we're in a child state, we relate to the world from an immature place, and you'll see this when people have a meltdown or spack out, have a tantrum, or just shut down and disengage, or get very confused, make bad decisions. Often this is because the person has gone into a child state, and the difficulty with that is that it sabotages our ability to be creative, to bring our gifts to the world, and it definitely sabotages our attempts to be intimate.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we work with this, and working with this helps us learn how to meet the world from our mature place, and from there we're much more able to find intimacy, be creative, find the things we long to do and make them happen for ourselves.
And do you think a lot of people are actually working or living from the inner child place without even knowing it? Or is it a conscious...
Almost certainly, yeah. Not all the time, but a lot of the time, yes.
Can you describe maybe like some of the behaviours that would reflect?
Sure. So depending on how we experienced difficulties when we were young, we learned strategies basically to not feel.
Okay.
So I'll go into a little bit about how we arrive at having child states. Well, by the time we're an adult, why do we have child states? And that is because as we grow up, when we're born, we're very open. You see a newborn baby, they're open. Emotions pass through without any holding, they're not blocked. There's no difference for a newborn baby. They don't really see the difference between them and the world, the universe, or their mother, say. For instance, they're just connected, they're open. And these, as they go through life, they learn to have an ego, they learn that they're separate, and that their mother has her own mind, and the father, and as we go through life, certain things impact us which makes us feel very strongly. So it could be when we moved into our own bedroom for the first time, or when our parents go away to work, or even if one of our caregivers is grumpy with us. It might be nothing to do with us, but it impacts us.
Yes.
And we can handle a certain amount of feeling that our central nervous system fills, and when it's full, it's too much. So as an organism, our way of dealing with that is to find a strategy to not have to feel that much emotion, because it would drive us insane. So we learn then to hide that feeling behind a role we might play. So we might take on the role of joker in the family, or we might be a people pleaser. We might try and focus on everybody else's feelings. If I can just get everyone else to feel fine, it'll be good. But also in doing that, we're so busy looking after other people's feelings that we don't have to feel our own stuff.
Yes.
And this is a good thing when we're children, because it enables us to live through many, many, many big challenges without either dying of overload or going insane. So at the time, it's very useful.
Okay.
It's an important part of growing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hardening up and learning where our boundaries are and what we can and can't cope with, and knowing how to not have to feel stuff we can't manage.
So it doesn't necessarily have to come from like a huge trauma in childhood.
Not at all, no.
Yeah.
My understanding is everybody carries small traumas.
Yes.
And trauma's a strong word, so a lot of people say, well, I haven't got any trauma. But that can be simply from competitiveness at school. It can be from a small amount of bullying. It could be from the death of a loved pet. But it's many, many of these.
Yes.
And not necessarily also an event. It can be a strain in family house, just a tension or a lack of authenticity with the parents. If they're putting on a front all the time for whatever reason, for the neighbours, or for a religious reason, or for a moralistic reason,
or
because
cultural, the British stiff upper lip of no emotion.
And that thing of, how are you? Oh, I'm fine.
Yes.
You know, that's okay when we walk down the street, but for a child that's very difficult to accept from our parents if they're not being honest with us, even in these little ways. We know something's off.
Yeah.
And family secrets can cause massive trauma. Hospitalisation, having to go into hospital, so suddenly being cared for by different people, and maybe you're cut off from your family. This can cause any one of these things, depending on your sensitivities and your perception. But we all carry strong emotion that we at the time decided not to feel. Yeah. And this is the crux of the inner child work.
So I guess people move through life under this conditioning or these blocks or these facades, and it's only later in adult life that it really begins to come out, or they notice that they're not able to form strong, authentic relationships, or there's the same pattern of problems keeps coming through. Yeah. And this is where learning love comes in. Yeah. And absolutely. Moving deeply into the childhood and beliefs. How does it actually?
Not always necessary to focus so much on the childhood, although it can be helpful to get an understanding from where this little tick I have, this trigger I have, comes from. It can be useful. It's not always necessary. So we notice it when it comes up in our adult lives, because, like I said, we sabotage our relationships by either withdrawing or becoming angry or frightened. Often we don't recognise that we're angry or frightened or in pain or in grief, and because we still use the same strategies that we learnt as a child. Yeah. So, and sometimes you'll see somebody who's frequently angry, they rage, and you say, well, they're in their anger, but it might be that the anger is actually a cover for the grief they can't feel, or the fear that it's not okay to feel fear if you're a man. So you rage, you get angry every time you become insecure. And other people, they can get so far into a relationship and then it all falls apart because they withdraw. Because as you let somebody come closer to you, it triggers these feelings from the past. Yeah.
Gosh, there's a lot to it, isn't there?
I suppose there is, yeah. Fortunately, because I find it a fascinating journey myself. So then what happens when the way it permeates in our adult life is we sooner or later we hit a situation that triggers a familiar feeling from something we experienced as a child. And then the child state that it triggers, there's many of them, the child state that it triggers can awaken to be so powerful that it takes over.
Yeah.
And then we are speaking and we're acting, it's all from our child space. So it's still us, we're responsible for how we are. Don't get the idea that I can say, officer, it wasn't me, it was my child.
It was my inner child.
It's my responsibility. But to begin with, when we're not aware of this, it really does. It runs people's lives.
Yes.
And you'll see people literally change from one state to another in a blink of an eye. You take road rage.
Yes.
Somebody gets triggered about something that's very minor. The car in front of me is driving a bit slow. Well, there's another car in front of that. What do you do with that? Yeah. But the triggering of a disproportionately strong emotion is that's a sign. Okay, this is not about what's happening now. You've just triggered it.
Yeah.
My partner's triggered it, the government that triggered it, or the COVID or whatever it is. So at that point, when we're triggered, the child state takes over, and this is where we sabotage our relationships. We can lose jobs. We can miss opportunities. We can shut ourselves down. We can go into shock for days, whatever. So people do find this in life, and as we get older, it tends to become more obvious. And then at some point, a lot of people say, I don't really want to do this anymore. I'd like to know a way through. And that's why we run Learning Love retreats and why I do sessions with people and share this work, because it's a practice to that helps you come through this and get the goodies out of it, because it's not all bad news. It's great.
Yeah,
it's great to start to see how I operate and to find out what a massive world of stuff there is in there.
And you become your own observer then, to realise what behaviours or conditioned behaviours you've got that don't necessarily have to be there, and you begin a healing journey.
That's right. Yeah. So then the way to heal, the way to move through on from these traumas, is basically observation. So when we react, that is what we do to not feel, to not observe these feelings. It's like, I don't want to feel this, so it's your fault.
Yes.
It was their fault.
Yes.
Or I've just
else.
shut down.
Yes.
Or I can't handle it. So the way to heal it is to start to pay attention and notice when you're triggered. And sometimes we catch it a bit late. It's like, oh dear, that wasn't very good. I've already slammed the phone down and thrown the clock across the wall. Too late. But even then I can say, okay, so I'll take that apart. What was the trigger? Was it the person on the phone, or was it a particular word they said? Or was it a look they gave me? Or was it something that happened yesterday that's been brewing? And we start to notice what triggers me. Then, when I know what triggers me, I can look at, and when it triggers me, how does my body feel? The physical sensation of being here. And you'll notice, when you look, you notice that there's all sorts of sensations going on in there. Maybe in your stomach, in your heart, in your solar plexus, in the throat. So if we start to observe that, it gives us an idea, because some of these feelings are familiar. When you track them, when you keep practicing, every time you're triggered, you go, what's this experience like? And from there we can move to the emotion. What's the emotion there? Or the emotions. And often attached to those is the impulse to do something to not feel them, which is where we started with the reaction.
Yes, yeah.
And it's not something that you can sort out quickly in a weekend. There's no quick fix. It's a practice of coming inside, checking it, of taking time on your own when you feel this stuff, to actually take time and space as you would a disturbed child. If you come across one of your own children or somebody else's child and they're upset, it's almost like you take them on your lap and you say, okay, how are you feeling? I'm here for you, and I hear you're disturbed, and I'm curious. I'm not going to judge it. I'm curious. What's this feeling? So we do this for ourselves, and a whole world opens up.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's funny, because we were sitting here sort of getting set up and getting ready, and I started to get very nervous, because I realised that, oh gosh, yes, you might be asking me some questions, or it does bring up a whole lot when you start to think, oh, I really do have to go a little bit deeper inside myself to see myself.
Yeah.
But ultimately facing those aspects or those behaviours is actually going to set you free to be happier, more grounded, more peaceful, and to have deeper relationships with people, I guess.
Sure. So the anxiety you felt when we were setting up, can you click into it now? Can you feel where do you feel it in the body?
In the heart and the plexus.
Okay. And what does it feel like?
It is anxiety. It's real. It's really sort of like unsettled nerves, which is not really like me.
Right. Yeah. And so as you feel into that anxiety, what's the emotion that's connected with that? What's the predominant emotion?
There's a fear, but I'm not quite sure where that comes from or why. A fear of...
But if you breathe into that fear, Sally, really let it come. So if you notice any judgments like, well, I shouldn't be feeling fearful, I'm a grown woman, or any nonsense like that, get rid of the judgment and welcome it in. Say, okay, I'm curious. How does this fear feel? Where do I feel it? How is it moving in my body? What's there? And really, can you connect with it and breathe into it?
It's a fear that comes from being judged or doing something wrong or saying something wrong.
So what would its statement be? If that fear had a voice, what would it say?
I'm afraid of doing the wrong thing.
Okay. And why would there be fear about doing the wrong thing?
Because you don't do the wrong thing.
Great. So that's beautiful. You see where we've gone with that. You've got the bodily sensation connected with the fear, and the belief that the fear is connected to is you don't do the wrong thing.
Do not do the wrong thing.
And we could go deeper with that and see whose voice is that? Who taught you that you do not do the wrong thing? Or what situation? Or
from childhood, from my upbringing.
Yeah.
Both parents. You've got to do the right thing.
Right. Okay. So, and how does that serve you in life today? Does it serve you to believe that, to have that as a knowledge?
No. It is a journey that I'm aware of, but that old conditioning still kicks in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and my understanding of it in all the years I've worked with it, I haven't got rid of any one of the neuroses, but they've become familiar. They're like friends.
Yes.
I'm not pushing them in the corner now.
Yeah.
I'm like, here we go. Let's
it's
have
like
a
they
look.
come to visit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and that's and the they don't overtake me. I have breathing room. I have time to work with it myself. So I have more time to respond to life, and I find by practicing this regularly, I'm more comfortable to stay present when things are difficult. You know, when something makes you feel anxiety, we can either get busy, which I did do this morning. I said to you, I've been very busy this morning.
You were nervous, and then I got nervous.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the practice of getting to know these feelings, to really explore them, means that you become able to stay present. Because the doing or the collapsing or the running away or the picking up a bottle of whiskey is all about escape and not feeling this stuff.
That's it,
if I can feel it, then I can stay present, and then a whole world of interesting interactions and creative possibilities comes through. So
Yes. So how and what can we do to heal or recover from these, these behaviours and patterns? There's learning love, like you say, with the retreats. That would be obviously one way, which is a bit difficult at the moment because the world has sort of come to a halt. Yeah. But you offer one-to-one sessions as well?
I do one-to-one sessions, and as soon as I can, I will do groups again.
Yes.
And it is really learning these practices I've been talking about now, but in more detail, and remembering to do them. So a lot about this work is reminding people because it's not. These are not practices we were taught as we grew up.
No,
it's a
not
shame.
at all.
If we were, it would be very helpful. It's learning to practice to observe oneself, and this shifts it. The other beautiful advantage of that is that fear that you just sat with, if you sit with it as if it was a child, that disturbed part of you, if you practice that regularly, that disturbed part of you itself starts to feel trust. Somebody is listening to me and hearing me, really listening to me and hearing me in a way that only you can do that. And I don't know if you ever had the feeling that you weren't really listened to or appreciated as a kid for who you were.
Totally.
It's very
totally,
common.
yeah.
So you can imagine how beneficial it would be to a child to really be held and listened to. Well, you can now do that for yourself. And in fact, in my understanding, this is our responsibility as adults, is to reparent ourselves. So when I sit with difficult emotions and I say, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not going down the bar, I'm not going to go on social media, I'm just going to stay and sit with this. Even if it's uncomfortable, I'm going to be curious and invite it in. After a while, I start to have a trust in myself, because the disturbed parts of me, the wounded parts of me, do not fear being abandoned, because they know that I'm prepared to be there. I'll stick with it. Whereas if I'm used to abandoning myself by doing whatever, running away, drinking, the distractions, changing relationship, changing job, whatever, then by doing that I abandon myself, which most people are doing all the time. We've never been taught differently. And therefore, I meet a lot of people who are looking for a partner that they can trust. If I could just find a man or woman who I could trust.
With the check boxes.
That's right, yeah. And that's kind of doomed to failure, because trust comes with yourself. So one of the beauties of this practice is that you start to feel that trust, that even if I can take the risk to be intimate with this person or to work with this person, even if it's on the edge of my comfort zone, because even if they do leave me or do the worst, have me over, it might be painful, but I'm going to be okay, because I know I can be with it.
Yeah.
And the worried parts of me, the child states in me, I've got used to the fact that I'm prepared to work with it. So this enables me to go places and get involved with people that I couldn't before, because I would have been too frightened, or I would have been endlessly looking for trust outside, looking for trust in the government, trust in the conspiracy theory, trust in my partners, and I would always, sooner or later, they're going to do something that triggers my inner child, and I say, that's not right, they're not good, and then I'm back in the same box as I was before.
So it creates a real stability and a security and a peace within yourself.
Yeah.
And then that's going to obviously reflect and radiate out into your family, into your work, into your
friendships. It has the potential for that, I mean, this is what I love with it. There's no point in trying to do this work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And so many people say, oh, if only my partner would do this. But when you are able to be with yourself in this sort of space, you open, it's being vulnerable with yourself, which after a while you can then share that with your partner. And when you share with vulnerability, it's fertile ground for intimacy, because they then can, if they wish, they can come up for air.
Yeah.
But they might not. But if you're always in protection, they sure as shit will be in protection too, because they feel it.
Yes.
Whereas if you can open, because you're looking after your own feelings, so you don't have to protect. When you can open that to somebody else, then they have the option to open with you, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a whole another level of connecting.
It's really amazing work.
I think so.
Yes. I had to put the laptop down because I felt I was wanting to really hear what you were saying, because you really, when you're talking, there is a real peace to it, and there's that real sense of safety as well. It feels really, the space feels very, very safe, and I wanted to be completely in the conversation with you, but I was trying to see what was going on there as well. So I think let's just check and see who's online with us.
Yeah, great.
And see if any questions have come through. the connection
Is
outside.
anyone online with this?
Yes. we have 11 people with us actually at the moment, and I can see Arno is here with us.
Great.
The laptop is a bit slow, so I can't see any questions. But if you do have any questions for Adrian with regards to working with the inner child, then pop them in the comments, and if we don't catch them live, then we'll write something.
I can write up something.
We can
later.
write up something for you, because it really is. It's just really beautiful work. We've got Jenny Wilkins is here with us as well.
Great.
Melinda down in Australia. Hello, Melinda. Lovely to see you here. I'm just looking at your notes to see, because we had some wonderful prompts here as well. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about how you've found working with the inner child with other people, but also for yourself?
We have a question.
We have, yes, something's come through. Wonderful. Tom Mitchell, thank you for joining us, Tom.
Tom.
Is saying, once I've felt my feelings, I sometimes find it hard to get back to a good feeling state. Is that normal?
It can be. It can be. It's not easy to take the feelings that have built up or been stored through a whole childhood. When we start to work with them, it's not, as I said, it's not a quick fix. Nothing moves that fast.
Yeah, he's saying, should I try to shift them?
No. Now you see, if we try to meet our feelings with the subtext of, if I do this, I'll get rid of them, or I'll shift them, or I'll be free of them, there's the judgment. And the difficulty is, when we judge these feelings, they scuttle off into the shadows, as a child would. If they come in the room and they get judged by the adults around, they will naturally want to hide away. So when we want to heal our feelings, we really need to bring them into the light, and that means welcoming them. This is why I keep saying about curiosity, because curiosity really helps us get over the judgment, and getting past the judgment is one of the hardest parts of this work, because we have been taught to judge our feelings and to push them away. When we push them away, they don't get a chance to transform into something more useful in our lives. So it does take time, and if you meet it from a point of view of trying to get rid of this uncomfortable feeling, it's that won't help, I'm afraid.
I like what you said earlier about you observe it and you acknowledge it and you treat it like an old friend. I thought that was a really nice way, because sometimes, certainly for myself, the way we talk to ourselves is really critical.
Yes.
And we can be really harsh on ourselves, but we'd never speak to somebody else like that, but we really do give ourselves a hard time.
That we call that the inner critic, or the inner judge in learning love work, and it's a whole nother area.
Or we could do another live stream on that, couldn't we?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That's a thing to work with. I would say that was a constant voice for me some time ago. There was a non-stop monologue of down criticism. When you get it wrong, you always get it wrong. You haven't done it well enough. You're useless. You're a nuisance. Constant, non-stop, and loud. Yeah. And I have to say, I almost never hear that voice anymore. And really, that was very simply just observing it, just observing it again and again. There's that voice again. And examining it. Whose voice is it? What phrase, what words does it use? And it changes depending on the situation. And some of the time my dad's voice would be there, sometimes my mum's, sometimes a teacher's, or it can come in pictures, it can come in feelings, but that critic we pretty much all have.
Yes, I think so.
And it's not helpful.
No. No. So Tom says thank you. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thanks for coming on, Tom.
And Melinda's saying the background music is beautiful. The music you're hearing, Melinda, is the chimes just above us on the terrace. As House of Light is a really beautiful retreat centre that Adrian and his wife Kerry created, really through renovating this beautiful old ruin into what we see today. So yes, it really is beautiful. And we thought we'd come out and share the almond blossom with you.
We wanted to give you some almond blossom because it's everywhere in the mountains around here. Everywhere we look at the moment, the trees are these pale pink petals, and when the sun hits them, it's just extraordinary. It's a little bit like moving around in a Japanese pleasure garden.
Yes.
So I said to Sally, we'll have to do this live stream outside and capture some of the almond blossom.
It's stunning. It's stunning. Okay. Oh, let's see. Andres Jacinto Ruva. I wish I had a question, but it was all so clear.
Oh,
beautiful.
Thank you, Andres.
Even if you have a question afterwards or something comes up, just come and comment on the live stream and just tag in House of Light.
Sure.
And then we'll come back to you.
It's a passion and a pleasure to share this work that I feel so fortunate to have been taught myself and been helped through. And so, if you have questions or you want to know more about it, please do get in touch. I'm more than happy to answer. Yeah. It's a great joy for me to be able to talk about it and share it with people.
Fabulous. Is there anything else that you'd like to add today, Adrian?
I don't think so, other than thank you very much, Sally, for your support and bringing this here and bringing me here.
I really enjoyed doing these with you. Oh, I also know it's a chance for me to get a little bit of inside help, inside knowledge, and it's just a pleasure to be with you in this space.
Great. Oh.
So thank you. Thank you everyone for joining the live stream. If you want to know more about Adrian's work, he's soon going to be putting up a blog on the website, which is houseoflight.love. And anything else that you'd like to know about Learning Love, please just reach out through the website or directly with Adrian. You can get in touch through the contact page. Okay, so
great. Thanks for coming, and I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, lovely to sit out in the sun as well and talk about love and healing and all the good stuff. Yeah. Okay, everyone, I'm going to come closer to the phone now to turn off the live stream, but just thank you all so much and wish you all a beautiful, beautiful day.